Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you joining us today because, well, we are embarking on a truly cinematic journey. We're going to explore history's most restricted, heavily guarded, and controversial artifacts. We are talking about objects that are locked behind thick glass, buried deep under concrete, or hidden away in climate-controlled vaults where literally only a select few are ever allowed entry. Today, we're going to unpack exactly why these items are kept away from the public, and we'll be separating the ancient myths from the hardcore science.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to just plunge your mind into the dark, atmospheric world of underground tombs and hidden museum vaults. Ask yourself, what makes an artifact too dangerous to touch? I mean, is it an ancient supernatural curse waiting to strike? Is it some fragile chemical equilibrium that's going to collapse if exposed to a single breath of air? Or is it a literal, invisible, radioactive hazard? Every single object we're looking at today represents an escalating mystery, and the reasons are locked away might honestly shock you.
Let's start by transporting ourselves to the warm, flickering torchlight of a dusty Egyptian tomb. This chilling quote is a translation by the renowned archaeologist Zahi Hawass. It sends a shiver right down your spine, doesn't it? But historically, genuine ancient curses like these were actually meant to warn the Ka priests to preserve a tomb's ritual purity. They weren't necessarily directed at common robbers. Yet, this context was completely lost in 1923. When Lord Carnarvon died shortly after funding the famous excavation of King Tutankhamun's tomb, the legend of the Pharaoh's curse just exploded onto the world stage.
Now, what's really interesting about this is contrasting the romanticized hysteria of the curse with the verified scientific reality. On one hand, we had the media frenzy of the 1920s. People were in an absolute panic. Even Arthur Conan Doyle, the brilliant creator of Sherlock Holmes, publicly claimed that supernatural elementals created by ancient priests killed Lord Carnarvon. But on the other hand, the scientific reality is that Carnarvon was bitten by a mosquito, accidentally slashed the bite while shaving, and tragically died of blood poisoning. While it's absolutely true that researchers today must protect themselves against microscopic biological hazards, like ancient fungi and bacteria trapped in closed tombs, the curse was a biological reality, not a supernatural one.
Let's leave the sands of Egypt for a moment and shift our aesthetic to a rocky, high-contrast landscape. Deep within the pyrophyllite deposits of South Africa, miners unearthed something completely baffling: the Klarksdorp spheres. These are tiny, remarkably smooth, disc-shaped and spherical objects that are estimated to be a staggering 3 billion years old. And as you can probably guess, their discovery set off a massive wave of speculation.
There's a massive controversy surrounding these tiny objects, and it's super fascinating to look at both sides impartially. On one hand, you have forbidden archaeology proponents and out-of-place artifact claims. These groups argue that the spheres are just too perfectly shaped to be natural, suggesting they were actually manufactured by intelligent beings 3 billion years ago. It's a theory sometimes linked to alternative creation science. On the other hand, we have the professional geological evidence. Geologists who have rigorously studied the spheres conclude they're naturally occurring diagenetic pyrite concretions, which formed in ancient volcanic deposits.
To really grasp the geological perspective here, we have to understand what a concretion actually is. Imagine a volatile, ancient world entirely covered in volcanic ash. Over billions of years, minerals begin to precipitate and slowly cement together in the tiny microscopic spaces between those ash particles. As this happens, immense metamorphic pressure and weathering forge these bizarre shapes. And those incredible parallel latitudinal grooves on the outside of the spheres, well, geologists explain that those were formed entirely by natural crystallization and weathering processes, completely without human intervention.
When we actually break down the physical elements of the Klarksdorp spheres, we're talking hematite, belastonite, and pyrite. Science shows us exactly how these formed. They started out as pyrite concretions, but when they were exposed to near-surface weathering over epic spans of time, the pyrite oxidized into hematite. And that is exactly what gives them that distinct, metallic, almost manufactured look.
Okay, let's transition away from stones and step into a dimly lit, strictly climate-controlled archive room. We are now inside the Binek Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University, and we're looking at a text so frustrating it has literally driven scholars mad for a century, the Voynich manuscript. Discovered by a Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich in 1912, the physical reality of this book is just astonishing. It's relatively small, actually, just about 10 inches high, 7 inches wide, and maybe 2 inches thick. But inside its 240 pages are 116 numbered folios filled with things that simply shouldn't exist.
We're talking highly detailed botanical illustrations of plants we cannot identify on Earth, bizarre astronomical charts, and illustrations of bathing nymphs. And carbon dating proves this isn't some modern forgery. It was genuinely manufactured between 1408 and 1438. So the crucial point here is, the script inside this book is completely indecipherable. And trust me, this isn't for lack of trying. Think about the minds that have tackled this. The collective brainpower of NSA codebreakers, the absolute brightest linguists at Oxford, elite wartime cryptographers, and even the most advanced modern AI algorithms have all taken a swing at it. And they have all failed. It is entirely possible we're looking at an unsolvable hoax, or maybe a lost language that we simply no longer have the key to. Either way, it remains one of history's most perfectly locked doors. Moving from the abstract danger of uncrackable codes, we arrive at sheer physical lethality. Hold this cinematic image in your mind for a second. The massive, unopened underground palace of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. The ancient historian Sima Qian wrote this about the tomb's defenses. Craftsmen were ordered to make crossbows and arrows primed to shoot at anyone entering the tomb. Mercury was used to simulate the 100 rivers. It's a grand, utterly terrifying vision of an emperor defending his rest for eternity. Now you might be wondering, why don't we just open it today? Well, because those ancient texts weren't entirely myths. Modern ground-penetrating radar has proven there is a massive, unusually high density of mercury inside that tomb. But beyond the mechanical and chemical traps, there's also a massive scientific preservation risk. When the famous terracotta army surrounding the tomb was first exposed back in the 1970s, their vibrant ancient paint faded and turned to dust within minutes of hitting oxygen. Because of this, strict cultural heritage laws absolutely forbid forced excavation. And this brilliantly illustrates the horrific toxic danger of the emperor's mercury rivers. If archaeologists were to breach the inner tomb today, they would disrupt a 2,200-year-old equilibrium. Suddenly exposing those massive underground pools of liquid mercury to the air would cause volatilization. The mercury would rapidly vaporize, creating a highly lethal poisonous atmosphere for anyone inside. The tomb is essentially a ticking toxic time bomb, heavily restricted for the safety of the world above.
Let's leave ancient history behind entirely now and enter the stark, high-contrast, terrifyingly modern world of 1940s nuclear science. This is the absolute climax of our danger escalation. Deep in the heart of the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos in 1945, scientists created what is arguably the ultimate lethal artifact, the Demon Core.
When you look at the specifications of the Demon Core, its physical dimensions seem almost completely mundane. It was just a sphere made of a plutonium-gallium alloy. It weighed 6.2 kilograms, which is about 14 pounds, and was only 89 millimeters in diameter. That's roughly the size of a softball. But make no mistake, its original purpose was world-ending. This was the core intended for the third nuclear weapon to be dropped on Japan, but it was retained for testing after the sudden surrender. To understand why this softball-sized piece of metal was so insanely dangerous, we have to look at the concept of subcritical mass. The Demon Core was designed to exist just barely under the threshold of a nuclear chain reaction. The physicists at Los Alamos were walking a deadly scientific tightrope here. They were running experiments to see exactly how much neutron reflection it would take to push the core into a self-sustaining reaction. They were, quite literally, tickling the tail of a sleeping dragon. Let's move to the timeline and see how this built into an absolute tragedy. On August 21st, 1945, a physicist named Harry Daghlian was working alone. He was stacking neutron-reflective tungsten carbide bricks around the core to edge it closer to criticality. Suddenly, the worst happened. A brick slipped right from his hand and fell directly onto the plutonium. The core instantly went prompt critical, causing a rapid energy increase and a blinding flash of blue radiation. Daghlian quickly knocked the brick away to stop the reaction, but in that split second, his fate was sealed. The terrifying, completely invisible lethality of that radiation burst becomes crystal clear when we look at the distance. Harry Daghlian, standing right over the core, received a massive 200 rads of neutron and 110 rads of gamma radiation. He died 25 days later from fatal acute radiation syndrome. But then look at Robert J. Hemmerly, a security guard sitting at a desk just 10 to 12 feet away. Hemmerly received just 8 rads of neutron radiation. He survived the immediate blast and lived another 33 years. It's a sobering reminder that with the Demon Core, the difference between life and death was literally just a few feet. Wow, what an incredible journey we've taken today. we've seen how the nature of restricted artifacts evolves over time. We started with the biological hazards hidden inside the ancient sealed tombs of the pharaohs and Chinese emperors. We explored the deep geological timeline of 3 billion-year-old stone spheres and the maddening, impenetrable cryptography of medieval manuscripts. And finally, we faced the cold, world-ending atomic reality of modern fissile cores.
Through it all, we see one constant: our overwhelming human drive to uncover the unknown, even when we are explicitly warned not to. We've learned today that sometimes history is locked away to protect the artifacts from us, and sometimes it's locked away to protect us from the artifacts. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to carry with you. If our greatest mysteries and most dangerous objects are locked away for our own protection, what else lies waiting in the dark?